Hi everybody, Andrew Cuneo here. Today I'm going to be going over another new standard deck that uses some of the Duskmourn cards. So this deck, I wanted to try to take advantage of this card, Kona Rescue Beastie, which has the ability to cheat permanents into play as long as it has the survival mechanic. So it has to be tapped at the beginning of your second main phase. You might think that the most obvious permanent you would want to cheat into play in standard is Atraxa. I don't have that in my deck because I think that the best way to enable this is to play with cards like Seraphic Steed, so mounts that use saddle and vehicles, and also Warden of the Inner Sky allows you to do it as well. So that's what I'm using as my enablers so you don't have to just attack with this and have it live. Like, that's not very realistic expectation. You want to be able to turn 4, play this, tap it immediately, and put something else into play. And that requires, using good enablers at 1, 2, and 3 mana. I'm not sure if you weren't going to play vehicles and mounts, how you would enable it in standard. I mean, there are probably other ways, but I don't know what they are. Or I didn't find any that I liked better than what I'm doing here. So because that's how I'm enabling it, I didn't really think I wanted to be a deck that had Warden of the Inner Sky and Atraxa in my deck at the same time. That wouldn't be a very cohesive deck. So instead, I went and looked for permanents that make sense in the Warden of Inner Sky deck, meaning that they are good, if you're kind of like a go wide strategy and you can do something with them for less than 6 or 7 mana. That's where I found Virtue of Loyalty. If you play that off of Kona, it's actually really powerful. If you've done something on turn 4 where you have an enabler in play for Kona, you play the Kona, tap it, just put Virtue of Loyalty in play. That is actually like a really big swing in the game. That's certainly good enough. It doesn't work if you've put the Virtue of Loyalty on Adventure. It has to be from your hand, so you do miss out on Ardenvale Fealty in that case. The other ones I've got, Overlord of the Mistmoors. This was in the Reanimator deck as well. It's weird. I put this in my first 2 Duskmourn decks, and this card doesn't strike me as like the greatest card ever, but it's very good in... it's a good permanent to cheat into play, but it's also something that you can just cast, and it's somewhat respectable. Certainly in this deck, like making 2 1/1 flyers. I've got a bunch of stuff to saddle, vehicles to crew. I've got, I want bodies in play to put counters with Virtual Loyalty. So even more so than the Reanimator deck, the 4-mana mode of this card is very relevant. But cheating it into play with Kona is obviously great. And also you can cast it if you get the 7. And then the final one is Nissa. So you can play this for 5 or 6 or 7 mana. If you cheat it into play, you get it for 7. The -7 ability does almost nothing in this deck because my deck is primarily white. I don't have very many forests. But the +1 ability is solid, and the -1 ability, being able to destroy enchantments, I think is really powerful. I played for a while without this in my deck, and I found that my deck could never beat Sunfall. So I had to make some changes to add some things that could play around Sunfall. And this is one of those changes. Moving on to more the enablers and the cheaper cards. This is another Duskmourn card, Unidentified Hovership. I found this card to actually be really good. I haven't seen anybody else cast it yet, but this card, against the all the black decks that have Preacher of the Schism and Sheoldred in them, it was always so hard to win with a white-based creature deck. When you played against somebody that just had the Deep Cavern Bat, Preacher of the Schism, Sheoldred, or Glissa, or just there were all these creatures you just had to be able to kill immediately, and you just couldn't get enough removal in your white creature deck while still being a white creature deck. So this is really effective against those type of cards. It's kind of like Skyclave Apparition, except for you can't hit non-creature permanents, which is a problem, but you can hit, if somebody plays Bonehorde Dracosaur, I think is the name of it, You can hit things that cost more than 4, is the point. You can hit 5 toughness, up to 5 toughness creatures, which is good. Also, this is a vehicle, so it crews, so it works with the Kona and another card I'm about to get to. Also has flying, and your opponent manifesting dread is generally worse for them, I think, than getting the token from Skyclave Apparition. Or like certainly, if you took out a Shieldred, you'd much rather have the manifest dread and get a 2/2 that might turn into something rather than just having a 4/4. Another new card, the Reluctant Role Model. So this card kind of reminds me of Arcbound Ravager. It's not as good as Arcbound Ravager, but it sort of does similar things where it makes complicated board states where, like, once you get one of these out and you've got counters on a bunch of your stuff, from Virtue of Loyalty or Warden of the Inner Sky or the counters this thing produces, it makes it so it's pretty hard for your opponent to kind of break up your board, because if they don't kill this thing first, then this is going to continue to get out of hand. If they do kill this, you're moving some counters around. I found this card to be pretty good, I guess I would say. And it also uses survival. So like all the things that are enabling Kona also enable this. Seraphic Steed. I think that this card is good enough. I don't know. I like this card. And there are matchups where it's really good, but you are also just playing like a 2-mana 2/2 some of the time. Which, I don't know. My experience with this deck is it's probably still has a little bit too much of a hard time against Sunfall decks to really be a top tier deck. But against people who aren't casting Sunfall, it actually is pretty respectable. This is another one of my concessions to Sunfall, the Mobile Homestead. I played Ornery Brushwag for a while, which is just another 3-mana 2/2 mount that's probably a better card than Mobile Homestead. But it just the Brushwag was just like another thing that you just had to flood the board and just hope they didn't have Sunfall. And if they had it, you just always lost the first time they cast Sunfall. So this gives me a little bit more resiliency. This is a card that against non-Sunfall, against non-sweeper decks, I'm going to be boarding this out a lot of the time. And then just some generally good 1-drops, Warden of the Inner Sky, and Novice Inspector. The lands, I don't have any Lush Porticos. I was thinking about adding some for Nissa, but this is a really good deck for Restless Prairie. The Lush Portico also kind of works well with the Mobile Homestead, which you can do a similar trick where before the Mobile Homestead triggers, if you have Warden of the Inner Sky and you're going to be using it, you can try to scry a land to the top of your deck if you really want to hit a land off the Homestead. Other lands, I've got 4 of the Verges. These are basically in place of forests. So again, if I wanted to make Nissa better, I guess I could cut some of the Verges for actual forests, but the Verges do help me cast Unidentified Hovership really reliably on turn 3. And a lot of the times, the way that the curve of this deck is, you're going to play 2 spells on turn 3, with one of them being a 1-mana white card, and then one of these plus Reluctant Role Model, Seraphic Steed, or Ardenvale Fealty you might want to play on turn 3. So you do really, you want double white on turn 3, and you don't really care very much about ever getting double green, which, I mean, not that changing these into regular forest would make it better to get double green, but this is like a very white slanted deck. The other lands are all kind of obvious. The sideboard. All right, this is a deck where it does have some problems that I'm really trying to solve in the sideboard. One of those problems is against Sunfall domain decks. So my plan is to board in more Nissas, board in Lorans, board in Destroy Evils, and take out some of the Overlords, take out the Mobile Homesteads. Unidentified Hovership has virtually no targets usually, so you want to take all those out as well. The Glass Caskets are against some of the green-black decks. The green-black decks, it's not completely consistent how they're built. Like if they have the Innkeeper's talent, I think, you usually want Destroy Evils against them. If they don't have that, they'll often have Glissas in their deck in addition to like Preacher of the Schism, and you're going to want Glass Caskets. They're both pretty good, but you're not going to board in all 6 of these against green black decks. You kind of want to figure out which one's better. Glass Casket's also good against any of like the red prowessy sort of decks. And the white-red Convoke decks, I think that's another tough matchup for this deck. And I haven't really found any cards that are super helpful, but just cheap removal spell. Tail Swipe, this is one where I wanted to try this against the white-red Convoke decks. It is pretty good with Seraphic Steed. Just, because you get lifelink, basically. And then Rest in Peace would be for the Insidious Roots decks. Also, if you play against somebody playing Reanimator like I was playing yesterday, this is obviously going to be great. I don't know if I would board it in any other spots, but maybe there's a deck where it's good. That Storm Spitter combo deck does do stuff with its graveyard a lot. I'm not sure that Rest in Peace is good enough there. Maybe it is. It does. It shuts off the Cash Grab and Picklock Prankster. I think it shuts off. So maybe it's good enough. I haven't really figured out how I would sideboard in that matchup yet. All right, let's play some games. Nice hand. Question is, do I want to play Novice Inspector on turn 1? Probably. It's probably worth a couple of damage. The only real cost is it means I won't be guaranteed to be able to play the Hovership on 3. It's a red deck. I think I'll lead on Reluctant Role Model. This thing does hit harder than the Seraphic Steed, like assuming, you turn it into a 3/3 if it survives the first attack, which is why I led with it there, because my deck's not really capable of saddling the Seraphic Steed on turn 3, given the board state I had. Like, if I had an untapped land, I could have gone second 2-drop plus, if I top decked another Novice Inspector or Warden of the Inner Sky. All my creatures, they're all dead. This must be some sort of big red deck. I don't know what this person's up to. Okay. Sadly, the Hovership cannot take out our Brask's Forge, which is a problem. The tower just keeps getting torched. Hopefully they're out of Torch the Towers. We might be into... They're going to start playing Shocks territory. Scorching Shot. Okay. This is going great. Not really sure what my plan is currently. It's to be overrun by Restless Forge. Does this... If they play 2 spells, it deals damage to me. I'd rather not take damage. So if I use the prairie and attack, I think it's going to be better to hovership this thing. Start by just attacking in the air, because I'm probably going to kill them next turn. As long as I survive. And don't take a 2-point trigger from the whatever that thing was called. Plan's probably to have the Novice Inspector chump the big forge token. This thing can block the small one. This will get crude and we'll block the Geological Appraiser if it attack with everything. I don't really know why I have this Beza in my sideboard, but I think it's for red decks. I do trim on Kona pretty frequently. The way their deck is built, it seems like they're super dependent on having Urbresk's Forge in play. Like their deck was just a million removal spells and Fountain Port to sack the tokens. So I think I'm going to go with Loran. I didn't really see much else in the way of targets, but maybe there'll be something. All right, let's start with the shocks again. Moral victory. They shocked my 3-man Inspector. Ooh, I don't know what this card does, but I know it's a target for Loran. Let's read it. And 1 mana of any color. Exile it to discover 5. Oh, it's like a Lotus Petal kind of card. Okay. I want to be able to attack with the Reluctant Role Model, and I think I'll go with the +1/+1 counter. So now if they want to torch the tower, they're going to need something to feed to it. How bad is it for me if they have a way to manifest dread? I think it's not that bad. Like if they shock the hovership, they'll manifest dread and then they'll double block the role model. But that means that the counter will move on to the Seraphic Steed. I mean, this works out really badly if they somehow hit something they can flip it as like a 3/4 for 3 mana, which I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I don't expect it to. Killed the Koth. I like Koth. It's so weird playing with Giant Standard when I haven't played that much Standard. Like, people just consistently play cards that I had completely forgotten about. Well, that thing is quite a problem. What's the plan? I could have played Beza and then used the Warden of the Inner, like played the Warden of the Inner Sky off the Treasurer to really try to find an answer to Dragonhawk Fate's Tempest. Playing this way means, though, that it... Alright, they are going to race in the air. Maybe I don't understand how this card works exactly. Enters or attacks. Yeah. Now that I've read what Buried Treasure does, I'm way less excited about Loraning it. This isn't going horribly. Changed my mind. Now it is. They played a Forge for me to blow up. And this thing is about to come off of Impend. Oh, that's a treasure. This is my clue. Just going to Loran the Erebreast Forge and play my land so I can hardcast this Oven Lord of the Mistmoors. This thing actually, I was expecting it being in play for this many turns to really be bad for me. Somehow I've been kind of hanging in there. I think I want to draw. So I think I'm actually winning right now. I can probably afford to chump. It's another Forge. That's not what you were looking for, I'm gonna guess. think if I chump and they don't have anything, the Restless Prairie activation and attack is going to kill them. The sand is not a keeper. Much better. I'm going to bottom a Hovership, not knowing what I'm playing against. The other option would be to bottom a Novice Inspector, which I think I'm wishing I had kept the Hovership now that I know that I'm playing against Monastery Swiftspear deck. This person has actual shock in their deck. It's shocking. I think I should not block this turn because next turn I'm gonna unidentified Hovership. So whatever their prowess triggering stuff is gonna be, they're only gonna get one prowess trigger instead of the two. This is potentially going to be a very unimpressive Kona trigger, because if I draw an untapped land, I'm going to play Kona, crew the Hovership, and put a Novice Inspector into play. This gives Mice Double Strike and Trample. Worth attacking. I guess. I don't really want to block this turn, because my creatures are all about to get so much bigger. Lizard, mouse, otters, and raccoons. This is a human monk. They had 4 shots, and they missed. Twice. Alright, I'll take the 4. If they have Monsters Rage, I would take 10. I'd rather not take 10, but hopefully they don't have it. I think they probably have Might of the Meek, and I think I'm about to take a lot of damage. Well, they have nothing, and I got bluffed. That was a big swing. This is the matchup where I like Glass Casket. I think I probably want Tail Swipe as well. And I think I want Beza. I definitely don't want the Nissa. I don't think I want a Mobile Homestead. Trim on Beastie. Maybe I'll cut one Reluctant Role Model. This card is much worse if you're trying to play more defensively. This hand is one spell away from being great. It's obviously one land too many, but I think that this is a pretty reasonable hand. I have a 1-drop into a 2-drop. I have good mana. I have a Hovership now. It's good to have a Hovership. A Mouse Soldier. What were the odds that we're going to miss twice? 34, I'd say. Fully committed to this Heartfire hero. I don't think I'm in the market to block with the Novice Inspector. I'm just going to attack with it. And I think I'll start with the +1/+1 counter. The next counter I get's probably going to be a lifelink counter. This is also the person who had Shock in their deck. So I've gotten my Reluctant Role Model out of Shock range. It's not that surprising that they have this card. The second Hovership is going to be nice. And now we'll get a lifelink counter. The good draws when they have this thing are kind of scary because I don't have any instant speed removal. I want another Reluctant Role Model. Could also just play Virtue of Loyalty. I think I'm just going to play Virtue of Loyalty. Fancy crewing. Now if the Reluctant Role Model dies in combat, it's not even a big deal because it, you know, I'll gain 5 life off of it, and then it'll just make the Novice Inspector into a 5/6 life linker. It's a pretty good hand. The lands are not necessarily going to cooperate. But maybe they are. Am I getting shocked again? All my opponents, their decks are all just shocks. They're looking at that, they're like, I don't want to shock the Novice Inspector. But they do. It wasn't even real shock, it was towards the tower. This might be the Storm Spitter combo deck, yeah, that's what it is. Yes, I think that that is what it is. I was thinking I was going to play Mobile Homestead, but I think this is maybe better. It's kind of hard to pad your life total enough in this matchup that they can't still combo kill you through it. But it's probably not impossible. I really need to draw a white mana next turn. I was about to say, I'm assuming this is the combo version. It might be a beatdown deck, but this is the combo version if they have Picklock Prankster. Yeah, mill 4 cards and put an instant sorcery or fairy card among the milled cards into your graveyard. So Rest in Peace does shut this off. Rest in Peace also makes this a lot worse. I think I'm going to board it in. It has no impact on any of these other cards. They just whiff off the Picklock Prankster? Oh yeah, they did. Come on, no attacks. I like that. On planes. Things are really going my way. I think my life total doesn't matter. I think they're either going to combo kill me or I'm going to win. So I'm just going to probably go for max damage. Okay. Didn't have that one on my scorecard. Probably going to be able to kill them in 2 turns, even through them having the Picklock Prankster as a chump blocker, because next turn I'm going to play Steed plus the Overlord of the Mistmoors. Alternately, I could hover ship this thing. Which I think that might make it a lot harder for them to win. So I think if they are not killing me next turn, it's going to be pretty grim for them. Oh, I think I messed up, though. I should have gotten a +1/+1 counter this turn, not lifelink, because then I would still have lethal for next turn. I guess I have lethal with the Restless Prairie. Oh, they're going to cease desist again. So far I've gotten all matchups where this card is great. I haven't gotten any of the matchups where it doesn't do anything. And I'm thankful for that. Can I kill them? I don't think this is lethal. Force him to block some. I don't think that really does all that much. I need to get to untap with the Storm Spitter and Storm Splitter, I guess is what it's called. That makes more sense than Storm Spitter. So I'm at effectively 35 life with 3 blockers. Meaning they need to get to 64 Storm Splitters. Which is, what, 2 to the 6. So they need to play 5 more spells. I don't like their chances. So this is 2 mana. They would have 5 mana left to cast 4 spells, and they would have 2 random cards. So like they could do it if they could chain together a bunch of sleight of hands. I guess they also haven't made a land drop yet. Oh, and they also have analyzed the pollen. Alright. It's actually... I think this is going to be closer than I was expecting. They need to find another 1 mana spell, I'm pretty sure. So I think they still need to play 2 spells. I think they're dead because they have a bunch of tapped lands. The lifelink actually mattered this game. I really was not expecting it to. Somewhere in here is the real one. How do I... Where's the real one? I wanted to block the real one. Oh, there it is. Sideboard and Rest in Peace for certain. I want Tail Swipe? Probably not. Don't think I want this Nissa. Destroy Evil does a little bit, because they do need the Storm Splitter, which is 4 toughness, but it's kind of annoying to have to leave up 2 mana in this deck, and they can just play the Storm Splitter and like immediately start comboing. So if the game gets to the point where they've got enough stuff going on, this doesn't even necessarily stop the combo. So I think I'm not going to play that. What else could I do without? Probably don't need all these Mobile Homesteads. Glass Casket. It's good against the enduring, whatever that enduring 3/3 is called. Maybe I'll do this. This card is quite good against their deck, keeping this hand on the strength a bit. Oh, Rest in Peace also shuts down Say Its Name. It could matter. Well, it both makes it not do anything and also would make it so that they couldn't exile them to go and get Altanak, the Thrice Called. I was not completely happy with my 5-land 2-spell hand. I'm much less happy now that I've drawn 3 lands in a row. I'm just going to die to Altanak. Yep. I don't think this hand was a mulligan. It's maybe closer than it looks, though. Because it's not even like drawing lands helps me that much. It means I get to get the Overlord in play, but that isn't nearly as good as having Rest in Peace or an Unidentified Hovership. Man, what if they have Brotherhood's End? That'd be really sad. But with no interaction, I don't want to just slow play my hand. Okay, that doesn't make me that sad. So if I have an untapped land, I'm attacking for 3. Well, this is 5, 9, 13, 16. I don't have an untapped land. There's no possible reason to attack with that card. Don't want flying. Yes. If they have Enduring Vitality, they might be able to kill me. If they don't have Enduring Vitality, I don't think they're going to be able to kill me. Because they would need to get... they'd need to get to 32. Okay, with Enduring Vitality now, they can cast their whole hand. So it might come down to, like, what they hit off of Ren's Resolve. That's not good for me. It seems like I'm probably dead now. 2 1-mana spells was not what I was hoping for. One more instant sorcery in the bed. Yeah. What's this card? Fecund Green Shell. Weird. So I don't know what that guy's all about. I guess the Storm Splitter does trigger this thing a lot, so it'll be a different sort of combo. Sad I didn't draw Rest in Peace. I think it would have been good in that matchup. Well, that was the deck. As we saw, it was pretty good against those red decks, or at least Unidentified Hovership was quite good against those red decks. And Unidentified Hovership was also very good against that Temur combo deck. I didn't get to cast it in either of the games I lost. I guess I had it in my hand in one of the games I lost, but I drew 7 lands and 2 spells, so it's not surprising I lost. Outside of that, yeah, this deck, I think it's solid. If you really want to play a deck that's mostly creatures in Standard, I think this is respectable. I do think that it's bad against Sunfall. I didn't get paired against any Sunfall decks while I was recording. I don't generally skip over matches when I'm recording unless I play against somebody who just has a non-functional deck. I won't include that. For some reason, Arena does not think that it's good to be able to see my sideboard right now. If I wanted to be better against the Temur combo deck, I think just having another copy of Rest in Peace would be the way to do it. And the Tail Swipe is the sort of loose card right now on the sideboard. So that's one change you could potentially make if you really want to beat that Temur deck. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.